Another chapter of the group gathered outside the Vatican in Rome to demand a response from the Pope. SNAP spokesman Peter Isley.
We need to know why he did not let us know about him, why he didn't let the police know about him, why he did not condemn him, why he did not take his collar away from him.
You were in Rome to protest against the Vatican, against the Pope.
This is something that we've done for years, which is when the evidence is there of a cover-up of these horrible crimes, when the church officials have been identified in these documents that that they're responsible, we will go to the cathedral or the chancery office and we'll do exactly what we did there, which was to sort of lay out the case. And I felt particular to this case because, these survivors, these victims, these deaf men who I've known for years are from here. And I felt, for me, a personal responsibility and duty and obligation to tell their story.
Why do you feel so involved in these cases?
Because of what happened to me. Because I was assaulted as a child. I had classmates that were assaulted when they were children. There's a classmate of mine, his mother called me in 2002, Christmas Eve. His name was Jim. And I hadn't seen him for many years. And we went to school together. We went to the seminary together. And he was assaulted by the same priest that assaulted me when I was 13. And his mother told me that Jim had gotten to his car that Christmas Eve. He went into an underpass of a freeway, parked his car, took his gun, and killed himself. And I promised that mother, as I've promised many mothers I've talked to over the years, that I would do everything in my power to bring justice for what happened to her child.
Really, what happened?
My father was a very devout Catholic. My aunt is a nun. My grandfather had built a church, a Catholic church. My father said that going to a Catholic school will provide you with the best education. And because it was a deaf school, a deaf Catholic school, my father decided to send me to St. John's.
Hello. Hey, nice to meet you. In 1953, when I was 5 years old, he went to St. John's School for the Deaf.
He's Father Murphy, this one,
Yes.
the priest who abused you.
Yes.
How would you define Murphy's personality, Murphy's character?
He was very slick. He knew sign language. He was easy to talk to. A lot of the deaf kids flocked to him. I would stay away. I did not want to. There was a few of us that would stay away from him.
Father Murphy, I felt, was a very skillful manipulator, hypocrite.
Somebody did talk back to him. He would physically abuse them. He saw that, but outside of the church, he was wonderful. Inside of the school, he was not.
Definitely a two-faced man. He was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He would go to Mass and look so holy. Such a holy professional priest. But at nighttime, he would turn into a completely different person, like the devil.
When did the abuses begin at St. John's School?
When I was there, Father Murphy had started teaching us like what things mean for sexual education, like what sperm means and how a man and woman do things, and a woman could get pregnant. But he wanted to show me. Oh, you don't need to show me. I understand. He said, No, it doesn't matter. I need to show you.
No.
When I was 12, I asked to make a confession, and Murphy took me into a closet.
I was shocked that he was doing this to me, and he grabbed me and shook me, and he touched me.
When I was 13, I went into Father Murphy's office to ask a question, and then Murphy took me into his bedroom and molested me. The third time, I was sleeping, and Father Murphy came into my dorm bed and molested me.
You mean you couldn't have stopped him?
No, I couldn't stop him. I was stuck. How do I stop him? If I stopped him, he's going to get mad at me. What? So I was just very careful.
I had gone to see 3 different priests here in Madison to try to tell them what was happening to me. They all shushed me. They hushed me. They said, "No way, you're wrong. This didn't happen." And so here I was, this young man with all these people telling me I'm wrong. I had told these first 2 priests, the second priest had said to me, "Get out of here. That's impossible. Don't say such terrible things."
I have read about a meeting where there was Murphy, the Archbishop Cousins, you, another victim of abuses. Do you remember of that meeting?
In 1974, in the spring, they met with Archbishop Cousins, and he was excited. He thought that Archbishop Cousins was going to take my side. He was real excited for the meeting, and then in the meeting, Archbishop Cousins got mad because they didn't want to have Murphy removed fully from the school because he was a good fundraiser. They wanted him to stay in the school.
So you are saying that the Archbishop Cousins, knowing what Reverend Murphy had done, didn't want him to be removed?
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
The Archbishop said, "So what? Who cares? That happened when you were kids, and you were deaf. You're deaf and dumb. So what? Nobody cares. It's important that the church have a good name."
You say the Pope knew about the sexual abuses. Why you say this?
When they were meeting with Archbishop Cousins, there was 2 people from the Vatican in that meeting.
So there were 2 people from the Vatican. They had been sent from Rome.
Yes, there were two priests from the Vatican, yes.
Dean is a survivor. He is a survivor of abuse by Murphy, and he is here today standing with us, speaking for all the survivors abused by Murphy. We're not here today, and we did not file this case because it's something we want to do. And we have to do this and name the Vatican because the decisions they are making are not protecting the children. And we released documents today that demonstrate, again, that the Vatican, and in this case, Cardinal Ratzinger, now Pope Benedict, Bertone, the then deputy to the prefect, and Cardinal Sodano received a handwritten letter from this John Doe who was abused by Murphy. And that letter from that deaf man, that deaf victim, fell on deaf ear. Stone silence from the Vatican. Some of these religious artifacts that I have are metaphors for our pursuit of justice and our pursuit of the virtuous spirits within us, and also represent some of the corruptions done by those in power.
Can you show us the documents that, in your opinion, prove the accountability of Joseph Ratzinger in the Murphy case?
The first one here is dated July 17th, 1996, and it's addressed to then Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger, who is the prefect for the Sacred Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. From Archbishop Weakland, the Archbishop of Milwaukee.
It's a case that
I feel very, very sensitive about, because this was the school for the deaf, and these were all deaf kids. And I don't think, because of the deafness, I don't think they ever got a fair hearing in court.
That in excruciating details writes that they have a very grave situation involving two priests, one of whom is Lawrence Murphy, who is soliciting in the confessional, that is committing the crime against kids using the confessional, and that he is asking and demanding that Cardinal Ratzinger and his department take jurisdiction and investigate this with the idea of removing him. And that is in 1995. A young man who had been abused repeatedly by Murphy at the deaf school as a child wrote directly on March 5th, 1995, to then Cardinal Angelo Sodano. And he said, "I am writing this letter to you because I am furious at a Catholic priest named Lawrence Murphy and want to know if Pope John Paul II will excommunicate him from the Catholic Church." We know that he informed John Paul II of this letter because it got turned over to the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith.
Every case that you would try in the United States had to be appealed to Rome and would linger over there for years. And so there was a tendency to shy away from trying to implement that section of the code in the United States. Rome was very critical of how we handled the annulment cases. I could only imagine how critically they would have dealt with handling the cases of sexual abuse.
Cardinal Bertone, who was deputy to Cardinal Ratzinger at the CDF, said, we are going to proceed under the secret protocol. The secret protocol is referred to here in this letter, and it is the protocol issued by the Vatican in 1962 that says that crimes of solicitation in the confessional and against minors must be prosecuted and investigated in the absolute secrecy.
I don't think the code had any knowledge, and probably most of us didn't, of the depth of the addiction of sexual attraction to kids.
In 1998, and at this time they had started the proceeding to remove Murphy, there is a meeting. Archbishop Weekland attended, Bishop Fliss, and Bishop Skilba. And they all went from the Milwaukee area in Wisconsin to Rome. There were notes taken of that meeting. He states, "I joined Archbishop Weekland and Bishop Fliss in meeting with Archbishop Bertone and staff regarding the case. It became clear that the congregation," that is Cardinal Ratzinger's office, "was not encouraging us to proceed with any formal dismissal on the basis of 24 years of apparent good conduct."
Which I pleaded that even though he was retired and in ill health, that he be reduced to the lay state to bring some kind of closure to this in our deaf community. And instead, it dragged, and he died about 6 months later.
By a Salesian priest who worked for this diocese. And I sued this diocese and the Salesian order in 2003, and I wrote to the Pope, Pope Benedict. Back then he was Cardinal Ratzinger.
Yeah.
He was in charge of the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith. He was supposed to get rid of abusive priests. So I wrote to him and I said, get rid of this guy. He's with kids now. and he molested me when I was a kid, and the Pope said no. And then Cardinal Levata, who's now there in the Vatican, he said no. So they kept him there with kids.
Excuse me, guys.
Yeah.
If you want to record anything over here, you need to be get approved from the Chancery office. We have a media person over there, so they're gonna give you approval.
You guys can go ahead and call the bishop administration, whatever.
Yeah, tomorrow in the daytime and talk to them. It's not useful talking to
Okay,
us.
if I'm not protesting, am I allowed to go in the victim's
Excuse me,
door?
guys. Can you please go off the property, please?
I don't want victims to tell the truth. They don't want the truth out.
This is a new church, new
Yeah.
cathedral.
Yeah.
When was it built? How much?
Between 80 and 100 million.
$100 million.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys need to be on the sidewalk. That's
See, watch it. Watch what happened.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you please take off the property, please?
And why we need security at our cathedral.
We're all Catholics here.
These people are paid to stop Catholics from coming to the church to protest what we think is absolutely wrong about the church. He doesn't even belong to this church. He's not even a Catholic.
5 years ago, I told the bishop that I would not take a parish until he was willing to do this, structural reform.
What did he say?
He said he disagreed with me, but that he would pray for me.
We're fighting for women's ordination in the church.
Believe that the Catholic Church should allow gay marriage and that there is nothing morally wrong with two men loving each other.
Yeah, I am a practicing Catholic for 72 years. I see that we are the faithful. We are the communion. We are the people of the church. And I'm sorry, but the Vatican should not rule the people.
But we want a better church. We want women to have leadership in our church. We want our gay children to come back to our church. We don't want them out.
So I'm saying I don't know where this protest is coming from. Pick on some of the other religions that aren't doing that right now.
Well, why are women not at the table?
Are you heterosexual or homosexual?
What difference does that
to me,
make
I'm
to
just
you?
asking a question.
What?
It does make a big difference to me.
I am a 72-year-old mother of 4
Good,
and
okay.
grandmother of 3.
Well,
if
then
you
we're on
really
the
want to
we're on
know
the same
who's
level
been a
then.
Catholic her whole life and always participated in the church, donated to the church, loved the church. It is my faith.
And I was abused by a despicable, filthy Catholic priest.
And we're not happy about that either. I think that's despicable. You can come to me and claim all you want. I don't know who you are.
I know the fact. I'm Joey Piscatelli and I was
That's
molested
great,
by a
Joey,
priest.
but I don't know you.
I'll tell you what the Pope has done. He's protected, shielded, and harbored pedophiles for decades.
And how long
so
ago?
has Cardinal Levata. And they pulled the wool over everybody's eyes.
Promoted to bishop, and he is now admitted to abusing young people.
Well, he stepped down now.
Well, good, but he got promoted.
You have an isolated case
The
here.
Pope makes hollow apologies that don't mean anything.
Not
What
anymore. He's on the forefront of
should
the
quit.
apology now.
He should quit and step down and
that's
admit
absolute
he's
nonsense.
a pedophile. You have a Pope that supports it.
No, come on. How
Sure
do
he
you figure
did.
that?
Stephen Keesley. He shifted Stephen Keesley, and then he committed rape again.
What kind of person was Kisley?
He was a big kid, another child, an adult body. So he seemed like a fun person for children.
First time I met him was when I was 11 years old at St. Joseph's Parish. After a Mass, I was introduced to him.
Then he would have a big group of kids around him after church.
So everybody liked him. They were happy when they saw him. He was just very friendly.
Start calling different kids to come sit on his lap. And the abuse would always start sitting on his lap.
When we go to the movies, you know, he'd caress my hand and try to move down, and always the breasts.
He would tickle your back and then he would come around to your front and your breasts. And I knew it didn't feel right. So I would go like this so he couldn't go under. But then he would start to tickle me, so I.
And at that time, a girlfriend and I went and told my mother.
What did your mother say?
Nothing at all.
What did your father say?
My dad wasn't around then, he had died. I believe now that my mom was having an affair with him.
Another time he started you know, just rubbing my legs with his hand and his feet, and I was frozen. I didn't know what to do. And he started just kind of working his way up my leg, and then actually another priest walked in at that point, who was, I assume, his boss. I don't know, his name was Father Joe, and he saw Steve and me, and he yelled at me to leave. You know, leave, now, leave.
He married her in '82.
Married your mother?
Married my mother in 1982 in a Catholic church.
I was still a priest.
Yeah.
So one time, I'm not sure, I think all the other kids were playing outside or something, and he had me and another little kid, I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl, and asked us to drink some wine. So we were drinking some wine. I didn't like it, so he told me how to drink it so I could handle it just by sipping it very slowly. I'm not sure exactly where he got the crosses from, if they were from the wall or from a table or what. But he started to threaten me with these crosses, like, you've got the devil in you, and I've got to get the devil out of you, and so eventually he, the first thing he did was he made me touch him, and then he made me go have oral sex on him, and I gagged and I almost threw up, you know.
It was so sick because I didn't know the right thing. He would do things, he had Playboys, he would make disgusting comments, and then when he drank beer, it was worse.
So then I calmed down, and I had to calm down. He threatened me, and then on the table that was there, basically he raped me on the table there.
How old were you?
I was 8.5.
How could you stop the abuses? You were grown up then.
I was afraid. That's the best answer I could give. I was afraid. It didn't stop anyone. So, but you know him personally, so that is
times for sure.
The other priests knew about him?
Father
what
Joe
was he
did.
doing?
Yeah, I mean, he saw me that time in the bedroom.
Father?
Father, his name is Father Joe. Joseph.
He knew?
He saw me in the bedroom.
And he did nothing? He didn't speak to the bishop as far as you...
As far as I know, yeah, I didn't...
Nothing happened after he saw you?
No.
That time?
Yeah,
nothing
no.
happened?
Mm-mm.
In the Keesley case, we have documents that show that in 1978, he was arrested and convicted of abusing at least 2 boys. We also have documents now that show that in 1981, Father Keesley himself petitioned Rome and requested his removal from the priesthood. We have a document that shows that his bishop did the same thing, petitioned Rome, and then the Pope for his removal.
You remember those years between 78 and 81? What happened?
He may have been staying at St. Columbia, but afterwards he got a job in a nursery called Color Spot.
Between 78 and 81, the abuses on you
Yes.
kept going.
Yes.
He was still abusing you.
Yes.
We have the letter directly on the signature of Joseph Ratzinger.
Here. Yeah.
That shows his direct involvement in 1985, responding to the petition made both by the Bishop Cummins in 1981 and the request made by the serial abusing priest Keesley in 1981. And it's written in Latin, and I read from the translation.
Yeah.
Ratzinger says, the arguments for removing Keesley are of grave significance, but added that such actions require very careful review and more time.
The first letter to the Pope is dated 1981. He was defrocked in 1987. What happened between 1981 and 1987.
I think 85 until 87, he and Pat did more youth groups because my brother was, going through confirmation at that time.
In which church?
St. Joseph's.
In
So
St.
he
Joseph's.
actually went back to St. Joseph's and got involved with the youth ministry again.
Any decision to defraud Keesley must take into account, quote, the good of the universal church, unquote, and, quote, the detriment that granting the dispensation can provide within the community of Christ's faithful, particularly considering the young age of Keesley.
Did you see him?
Yes, I did.
I mean, in the church?
Yes, I
having
did. And
relation with youth people in
Yes,
the church
yes.
in 1985?
Correct.
He also urged the bishop to provide Keesley with, quote, as much paternal care as possible.
Look at him, control him, paternal care.
No, give him paternal care.
Yeah.
That means be a pastor to him, care for him. There's no care expressed about the well-being of the children that he's abusing here. This is paternal care of Keesley, not the kids.
So when I found out that that Ratzinger actually was given letters, sent letters to defrock Keesley, he'd already abused me, and I know that the defrocking would not have stopped Steve from abusing children. He would have found them anywhere, but it would have sent a message to the people of the church that this is wrong, morally wrong. It's damaging to children. It ruins lives.
Same things that these documents I'm sharing with you and that we're revealing daily that go back years and decades demonstrate the same thing they're doing today.
Lei l'ha visto mai questo indiano, questo parroco indiano? Viceparroco sarebbe in realtà.
Sì, l'ho visto.
Vijay si chiama.
Non lo so, passa, a volte viene, ma
Perché dove sta di solito?
penso alla stazione di Chiesa.
Padre Vijay Bhaskar Godogunuru, sacerdote cattolico indiano, è stato condannato da una corte della Florida per assalto aggravato a una quindicenne, avvenuto il 23 giugno 2006 a Bonifay, Florida.
Sacerdote indiano che è più vicino è a 7 km da qui a Sarteano, si chiama Sarteano.
E si chiama, come si chiama questo?
Vijay.
Rischiava 5 anni di prigione e $5.000 di multa, ma ha patteggiato e la pena è stata sospesa a queste condizioni. Non potrà avere il ruolo di guida sui minori e la Chiesa Cattolica gli chiederà di tornare immediatamente in India.
Ma mi scusi, io cercavo il parroco.
Non gli ha risposto.
Don Vijay indiano.
Sì, sarà con l'altro parroco perché stamattina sono usciti insieme.
Ma padre Vijay, ammesso che ce l'abbiano mai mandato, in India non ci è rimasto.
Volevo parlare con Don Vijay, e lei? Mi può aprire un secondo? Oh, buongiorno. Mi hanno dato il suo nome alla...
Gli chiedo se fa catechismo ai ragazzini.
Io non faccio il catechismo per i ragazzi.
Ah, non lo fa lei?
Io non.
C'è un parroco che lo fa?
Don Fabrizio sa lì. Quelle che io posso lo passo. Quelle che lui mi dice.
Cioè lei fa messa comunque?
Sì.
Fa la messa, insomma, serve la messa. Qui a Sarteano oppure anche altrove?
Sarteano.
Eventualmente dove la posso trovare per la messa?
Stasera alle 6 in suffragio, no? Via San Lorenzo, no? Via Corso di...
Va bene.
Vijay è frettoloso. Sospetta qualcosa? Ha paura che emerga il suo oscuro passato? Mi ha dato appuntamento alla messa delle 6 alla chiesa di San Lorenzo. Ma a quell'ora non si presenta, anzi la messa prevista non viene neppure celebrata. Ascoltate il parroco Don Fabrizio.
Sì?
Buongiorno, sono un giornalista.
Sì, abbiamo già dato.
A chi?
A tutti.
Ma lei lo sapeva che Don Vijay era stato condannato a 5 anni per assalto aggravato di una
Ma non è
minorenne?
stato condannato a niente, è stato assolto.
No, è stato condannato.
Leggete le
Ce l'ho.
queste dell'ANSA. Comunque
No, questo è l'atto, è la sua, lui ha patteggiato, guardi.
Comunque, se lei già viene con questa,
Guardi,
con questo assalto,
no.
io gli chiudo la porta in faccia.
No, scusi, questa qui è l'atto con cui Vijay Godugunuru ammette la sua colpa. Guardi, assalto aggravato 5 anni che sono stati sospesi in cambio del fatto che lui andasse in India, e invece è qui.
Da oggi lui non è più qui in servizio da noi, tutto qui. Questa è l'unica cosa che gli posso dire. Autorizzato dal mio vescovo a dire.
E dove andrà Vijay da domani?
Non lo so, tornerà in India, penso.
Lei lo sapeva, no? Che lui era... Cioè, far messa a un molestatore sessuale non è un fatto grave. Io capisco il perdono cristiano, ma fargli fare la messa...
Ma lei tutte queste cose, lui prima di tutto è stato assolto.
No, lui ha accettato la... guardi, ce l'ho,
Ha
l'atto ce l'ho
patteggiato
qui.
in America,
Ha patteggiato
il
5 anni.
Significa non riconoscimento di colpevolezza.
Ma cosa dice? Guardi, aggravate d'assault. Se non è colpevole, perché allora lo sospendete dalla diocesi?
No, non è che lo sospendiamo, noi lo rimandiamo. Lui ha dato le dimissioni.
Perché ha dato le dimissioni?
Ha ritenuto opportuno dare le dimissioni e ritorna.
Ma se non ha fatto niente, perché dà le dimissioni?
Perché ha ritenuto opportuno dare le dimissioni.
Aveva rapporti con ragazzi, giovani, attività ricreative.
Non sono autorizzato a dirgli queste cose.
Faceva attività con i giovani nella sua diocesi? Li faceva? Buongiorno.
Io lo conoscevo, ci ho fatto la comunione perché io sono uno per la chiesa, ci sono. Stava con i ragazzi, faceva catechismo, faceva...
faceva il catechismo lui?
Sì, lo faceva su, come no, con Don Patrizio.
Lei l'ha visto fare catechismo?
Sì, l'ho visto fare catechismo, gli facevano fare le funerali, le messe.
Quindi
forse ai preti di tre mogli.
Come la religione anglicana, via.
Come gli anglicani?
Esatto.
Certo, ce l'hanno anche loro come tutti i maschi, insomma, in poche parole.
Le finestre della casa di Vijay sono chiuse. Il prete indiano in poche ore è diventato un fantasma.
Don Vijay è già andato via. L'ha visto stamattina?
No. Il vescovo della diocesi, Monsignor Rodolfo Cetoloni, sta a Montepulciano. Vorrei chiedergli perché Vijay, che sarebbe dovuto restare in India, sia venuto invece qui e perché adesso improvvisamente lo hanno rispedito sul primo aereo per l'India.
Volevamo parlare con Monsignor Cetoloni.
Senta, assolutamente non è disponibile.
Come non è disponibile?
So che dirle, è così.
Volevamo chiedergli a proposito di Don Vijay una dichiarazione.
Questa è la comunicazione. Il sacerdote da oggi non è più in servizio nella nostra diocesi. Punto.
Punto, ma voi dovete dare qualche informazione ai fedeli in più,
Ci penseremo, per adesso abbiamo deciso così.
Buongiorno, mi scusi.
Pochi istanti e Monsignor Cetoloni appare.
Mi scusi. Scusi. Le volevamo chiedere di Don Vijay.
Il vescovo fugge. Allora mi rivolgo al suo segretario.
Buongiorno. Cercavamo il vescovo per questa storia di Don Vijay per sapere.
È introvabile.
E perché è introvabile?
Perché c'ha da fare affari suoi, non quelli della RAI.
Beh, sono affari di tutti il fatto che ci fosse un prete molestatore nella vostra diocesi, no?
È soltanto un malfatto della stampa e anche di vostro.
Perché un malfatto?
Perché avete nominato una persona.
Noi abbiamo qui un patteggiamento di Don Vijay per assalto aggravato. Questo è un patteggiamento firmato da Don Vijay con la corte americana della Florida.
Don Vijay è in India.
Ma da quando è in India?
Stamattina.
Avrebbe dovuto fare messa ieri sera alle 6, poi è arrivata la notizia e l'avete mandato via.
Comunque non c'è disponibilità per nessuno, né nostra né del vescovo.
Lei ritiene opportuno che un prete che comunque è stato patteggiato per assalto aggravato di una minorenne faccia messa in una chiesa vostra?
Questo si è ravveduto perché prima di metterlo là è stato qui dentro, qui, non so quanto c'è stato.
Nella diocesi, proprio qui nell'ufficio?
In questo ambiente qui, questa è tutta la cordellina per togliere alla Chiesa il sostentamento che viene dato con l'8 per 1000.
E chi lo fa?
Potendolo fare legalmente, cercano di distogliere la popolazione.
Ma cercano chi?
Tutti.
Chi? Ci sarà qualcuno che fa il complotto, no?
La RAI è in mano ai comunisti. E i giornali, il 99% sono in mano ai comunisti.
Quindi il complotto è dei comunisti?
Sì, di quelli comunisti, perché ufficialmente ci sono più, ma nel corpo ci sono dentro. E spero che ritorni il duce.
Ma scusi, che ritorni?
Il duce, per rimettervi a come si deve avere.
Che ritorni il duce?
Sì.
Ma cosa sta dicendo? Perché?
Per rimettervi al posto.
Father V.J., Father J. Paul. Just within this last month, priests moved from the U.S. to Italy, worldwide, from Ireland.
It is the only organization that I know of, and it's a government too. So it's like the policy of this government right now around the world, and they have people employed around the world as priests, that you can rape and assault a child and remain in employment with children and families.
After you went to the Blue Cloud Abbey, where were you assigned?
I went to Milwaukee.
Why were you sent to Milwaukee, at least as you understand it?
I abused children.
And was that Bishop Hoke that sent you to Milwaukee?
Yes. We talked. And when I see this father is edifying his own community, that's a bunch of hogwash.
Why did he say that?
Because I knew what I was,
What were you?
a sex abuser. But every parish that I worked with in Milwaukee, they knew, the pastor knew what I was.
How many children do you think, or would you estimate, you abused while serving as a priest?
All I could say to you is one is quite enough.
Do you think it's more than 100 or less than 100?
I honestly do not know.
This isn't old news. This is a current crisis under the current Pope, using the same protocols the Pope used 100 years ago and 10 years ago. And nothing's changing. It's business as usual at the Vatican.
Why the Vatican doesn't change these rules? They're trying to preserve and protect what ordination is, the ordination of the priesthood. They're trying to say that by becoming ordained, you somehow become a elevated and higher being of some sort. Although you're human and you make errors, and that if they ordain the wrong guy, now I've talked to bishops about this, I'll say, look, at what point are you going to have to admit this man never should have been a priest? You know, at what rape? 5th kid, 10th kid, 15th kid? And they'll to a person say to me, well, that's not, you know, God wanted him to be a priest. And they have to try to explain.
Stephen Kisley vive nella gated community di Walnut Creek, California. Un comprensorio protetto da sbarre e vigilanza per ricchi pensionati che giocano tutto il giorno a golf. Chissà, magari Stephen è uno di loro.
I'm looking for Stephen Kisley.
No.
Sorry, madam.
No, he wants to be left alone.
Poi la moglie di Kisley mi passa un biglietto su cui scrivere il mio nome e il mio indirizzo. Ma Kisley, lui non lo vedrò mai. Il reverendo Lawrence Murphy è morto nel 1998 a 72 anni. Mentre Steve Geyer, Arthur Budzinski e tutti quelli violentati da lui aspettano le scuse da chi non lo fermò in tempo, lui è sepolto qui, nel cimitero della diocesi. Al suo funerale ha ricevuto le preghiere e gli onori che si riservano a un sacerdote.